Hello friends, good afternoon. I am Claire McKee and this is Real Talk San Diego, here to bring you the business of life in America's finest city. As always, this show is presented by our loyal partners at 5-Star Escrow and First American Title. And you know, I've got my friend Jayson Yoss here. He's with Golden West Property Management. And where's your cohort? That's what I really want to know.
She's extremely ill right now. We had to send her home. Yuri, please get better. Please make sure you made it to the doctor. Her parents are in Mexico right now. So this was a big thing.
Okay, Yuri, if you're watching, please comment whether you have made it to the doctor or not. Are you home safe? Like, what's your status? I know you're going to be seeing this. So we love you. We hope you feel better. And we will see you next month because there's no way you're squeaking by another month without seeing your Claire Bear.
It's 100%.
Right?
She has to get better. And on top of it, most important, you have to make sure that you get lots of rest. You don't come into work tomorrow to get anybody else sick. And
why is that? What's coming up this weekend?
Oh, it's St. Patrick's Day, right, Yuri? So, St. Patrick's Day, you need to be fresh, primed, and ready. Okay?
Prime condition.
Prime condition.
And Jayson was kind enough to invite Brad Seaman here with us today. He's a realtor with the Seaman Team. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Are you ready to have some fun?
I hope so.
Did he warn you what you were getting into?
He gave me a little tiny piece.
We had to really get you here, huh? So they already have told me, like, I've been studying the questions you ask at the beginning, so I had to come up with some new ones, as you know. And Jayson, you make it tough because you just keep coming back and I have to come up with new questions every time. Yeah, so I want to know a fun fact about you, Jayson. Anything at all. What's a fun fact?
I worked at Gold Mine Yogurt when I was 16 years old. Probably the best job I ever had, the staple of my working career. I learned how to make wonderful frozen yogurt, which is obviously a big thing. I learned how to greet customers.
I can't take you seriously.
I really worked at Gold Mine Yogurt. That was a great spot.
You said it's a staple of your career.
It was. I mean, I never had a job before that, and it was the greatest thing. So that would be the fun fact. I work at Gold Mine Yogurt. I love that place. It was a family-owned business, and they let a bunch of us young teenagers run around and manage the store on our own, I think.
So do you have like the secret yogurt recipe that you can make your children?
I'll tell you what, I ate so much frozen yogurt, I don't eat it anymore. That's how much I ate. But I don't know what was in I don't know what was in the secret sauce, but I mean.
Gold Mine, though, they had the name there. I'll tell
like
you that much.
Right.
So, Brad, tough act to follow, my friend. But what's a fun fact about you?
You know, I'm passionate about snowboarding and skiing.
Okay.
Nice.
And so a big thing for me has been heliboarding. So last year I got to go heliboarding for the first time. And they say it's a bucket list item, and it's a bucket list that you keep coming back to.
Okay, so for those who don't know, is that when they drop you off on a mountaintop out of a helicopter and then you...
That's right, yep.
That's probably the coolest thing I've heard.
Now, is that because you can't get a lift to where it is? Or what is the reason? What makes it like hella?
You're basically paying for the best snow anywhere.
Right.
You can't find it anywhere else.
Okay.
It's uncharted terrain, and it's a small group of people that go up and throw themselves off
Where was this?
great slopes.
What mountain?
Up in British Columbia.
Were you terrified? I mean, that has to be like, no, you're just
exhilarated.
Like, all for it.
My heart beating probably about as fast as it is right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're very composed, more than I would be about to jump out of a helicopter and down a hill, I can tell you that much. Not that you jump out of it, but I did skydive, fun fact. So, Jayson, where can we find you in your free time? What do you like to do when you're not working?
Well, I have triplets, so I'm going to be at home with the kids at all times.
Like
right
this?
now.
Three in your arms?
One of each.
I can carry all three right now because it's like 20 pounds a piece, so I can do all three right now. Who knows how long that'll last, but that's where you can find me in Carlsbad Village with the triplets. If you see the triplet stroller, that's me. Yes, there's not many of us out there, right?
Well, yeah, but I thought you said you had 4 because your good friend Teddy has to get in the 4th seat.
Shout out to Teddy. That is my 4th child, yes. Okay, so if you call Golden West Management anytime and get our sales manager, Teddy, that is my older 4th child. I love him to death, but that's what that 4th seat in the stroller is for.
His name's Roy. He would like to correct us.
Oh. No, it's Teddy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Looks like Teddy Bear, the Teddy Ruxpin Bear. That's why my kids love him so much.
Teddy's so warm and fuzzy, right?
Right.
Okay, Brad, where can we find you in your free time if you're not boarding, right?
Similarly, I've got three young kids, 6, 4, and 2. So it's either on a t-ball field, baseball field, out and about. We travel with them quite a bit, so they ski and snowboard.
Fun.
So we're outdoors as much as we possibly can, and my focus is all on them.
Awesome, I love it. This is a little off the wall here. Jayson, if you could have any career outside of real estate, it can't be anything to do with real estate, what are you going to do and why?
Oh, absolutely. I'd be probably an NBA basketball player, and here's why. Because I'm a good 5'9".
Go ahead, brush that off.
Look, I'm a good 5'9", and I was watching the Lakers last night, and IT is also 5'9", and I'm thinking if I could weave in and outside the big tall trees and get paid $20 million plus to do that, I think that would be a solid job. I love my real estate career, I love property management, and the people I get to work with. But on the Lakers at 5'9", why not?
Just gonna leave us for the NBA. Do you?
I might have to.
Whatever. Brad, what about you? What would your career be in another life?
You know, it's funny. I probably would have said something much different a couple of years ago. It would have to be a heli-skiing guide. I know it's a little boring for what I just talked about, but what a passionate job to be able to go out there every day and just guide people around, have a good time, and spend an entire season doing that. So
I'm gonna challenge you on that, because I did go skydiving for the first time last December, and I'm talking to my instructor, and he's like, Claire, I've jumped 18,000 times in my life. And I'm like, what? Is it still fun for you? Like, do you still get an adrenaline rush? He's like, no. He's like, if I had an adrenaline rush every time I jumped out of a plane, imagine what I'd be like at the end of a day. Like, how exhausted you would be. Yep. So I'm just saying, maybe you would ruin it for yourself if you were doing it all the time.
I don't think so.
You don't think?
No. First of all, kudos to you for doing that. I mean, I love the snowboard, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
And second of all, when I went skydiving the first time, I signed this guy's book. It's like 6,000 jumps, so they do that every day. What a career.
No kidding, right?
I mean, your office is in the sky, so I think that's it. I think it's a good one. I think you should do that too. I think you should go somewhere career-wise, something like that.
You think we could sustain that, though?
Well, I mean,
he told me he'd have a drug addiction if like he did.
That was his
weird.
Good point.
Anyways, so St. Patty's Day is coming this Saturday, and like any good Irish woman, I have no plans whatsoever. So I want to hear what you guys are doing, if anything, for St. Patty's Day.
So St. Patrick's Day will definitely be fun-filled with green everything, and then obviously I got to get the triplets dressed up in some kind of menagerie of green, some kind of leprechaun outfit. But yeah, it's a Saturday, so we'll be at home in Carlsbad with the kids.
Yeah, usually it's during the week most times, and so it's like you get a little wild and go out with your friends, and then you got to struggle the next day.
Maybe Yuri will get us all together for a St. Patrick's Day early happy hour. I'm just saying.
What a delightful idea that
Get better, Yuri. Get better.
Brad, do you have any plans for St. Patty's Day?
I've got a great excuse actually this Saturday. So we're going off to a wedding.
Nice.
Just like my anniversary with my wife, it's wonderful. We're on New Year's Eve.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So I always love to have a reason to celebrate.
Yeah.
And so for St. Patrick's Day, I got my nice little green tie, ready to go to a wedding this Saturday and enjoy.
That's cool. I never thought about getting married on St. Patrick's Day. Like, that's got to bring you some sort of good luck, right? You would think.
Hope so.
Pinch me if I'm not wearing green, right?
Yep, that's right. All right, well, we got the lizard trainer here. That's more of an inside joke because he dropped that to me earlier, and I'm not going to let it slide. But, guys, if you like what you see, be sure to click follow on our live feed. That way you'll be notified every time we go live. And the best part about being on Facebook Live is we get to interact with you. So hello to our 6 live viewers right now. Drop us a comment if you're watching, or feel free to ask us a question, and we'll be able to address you and shout you out on air. So we'd love to hear from you. So we're going to dive right in with Jayson Yoss, again with Golden West Management, and Brad Seaman. He's a realtor with the Seaman Team. Brad, before we get into the advice and everything we're going to share with our listening audience today, tell us a little bit about your background.
So my background, I've been a residential broker for about 10 years. My background's in flipping houses. So for a period of time, about 3-4 years, I flipped over 100 homes. So I've got a interesting time in the business, buying from the courthouse steps and other resources, and really spending the time improving those homes for others, other investors, and making sure that they profit on each one. And then I reinvented myself and back out to the general public in 2012 and started using those traits to help others in flipping their own homes. So many of the sales that we do have some element of remodel, whether it's a bathroom or flooring. We're always doing something to try and help out their bottom line. So
you were flipping at the low point in the market, right?
Yeah, I was. There were some fun times there.
I bet.
We had several homes that we didn't have to touch, so we were able to buy them and put them back on the market and sell.
That's wild.
Good times.
Yeah. So tell me how you transitioned back into the people side of real estate, if you will.
You know, my passion was always to help others, so I always enjoyed helping other people and making sure that they made money off of anything that they did with us. And I always wanted to keep the clients coming back. So my transition actually was back into residential resale for that passion, to be able to help the general consumer do the best that they can. At the time, many of my investors were going different directions as well. And so it gave me an opportunity to kind of put the team together and be ready to start helping as many as we could. Blend
the two, really.
Yep.
That's awesome. So you're going to share with us some of the best ways that people can actually prepare their home for sale if they are going to put those renovations in. What are some suggestions that you have?
You know, the best suggestion I can give is a completed product. Most people don't know where to start, right? They start out and they say, oh, I'm thinking about selling, whether it's today, 6 months from now, 2 years from now. And they go into their home and they want to start ripping everything apart. Right. And the reality is that, yes, bathrooms, kitchens, flooring, paint are always going to be kind of the staples of what you look at. But sometimes, depending on what the market's doing and the comparables, you don't necessarily have to do everything.
Okay.
We want a finished product, something that anyone can walk in and really just tell themselves that they can move in, right? They don't have to rip apart anything to start. So the day that they walk in the house, they can move their things in and their family can start enjoying it.
Right.
And they might put some of those projects off that they really want to do later on. And that will yield the highest sales price for the seller and also help them net the best bottom line.
So there's kind of an interesting psychology behind that you shared with me, the 1 to 3. So break that down, because I think that's amazing advice for our listeners.
So I always use a 1 to 3 ratio. So if you walk into a home and it's completely in shambles, a buyer's always going to attribute 3 times the amount of money that it actually costs to do the improvement. So let's say we're talking about carpet. A buyer might walk in and say, hey, I need to put new carpet in this home. Well, the reality is their number in their head might be $10,000, $15,000.
Berber carpet, 2-inch pad.
Yeah, right, or they might even say, hey, I want to put hardwood floors in here.
Wow.
Right, where they're thinking $10 a foot or $15 a foot. And the reality is it can be done very cost effectively for a seller, and that buyer may not put those floors in right away.
Right, because then it's almost not like a leverage or a piece of negotiation later on. Oh, well, the carpet's got to go. I want you to come down X amount of thousands of dollars, right?
Absolutely. And I would agree with you on the fact that when somebody walks in, when they see something in shambles, they instantly go to negotiation mode, where when you have a beautiful finished product like you had brought up, they're more apt to go, wow, I better put my offer in soon or this could be gone.
Right.
And they want to position they want the pricing to be positioned as value too. So if they come into a home and there's things that they need to do, they're looking for the best value, not necessarily the move-in ready finished price.
Right.
And so that's what we help people negotiate, right? We get through that, help the seller actually fix it up so that we take all those things off the table for the buyer.
And with a background, like Brad's done tons of flips over his career, with a background in any kind of, not just flipping, but any kind of construction, you're going to be able to see not only the start to finish steps, so there you can organize it, but then pricing. Because if you go on Google and start calling contractors, who knows what kind of pricing you're going to get and what kind of product. So, and a lot of times for our clients, it's just too big to bite off, too big to chew. So.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your side of things when you have maybe a tenant who wants to put in upgrades in their apartment. Is that fair game? What is the process like for that?
So, I mean, that's a great question. And actually, we do have tenants who say, hey, I want to do this or I want to do that for a property. And so standard is number 1, as long as you ask permission in writing, you're pretty much going to get approval. Most landlords are going to be okay with you doing upgrades to their property, right? And sometimes, secret tip, tenants ask, hey, will the landlord cover the material if I pay for the professional labor or vice versa? Trust me, you'll get landlords who say, yeah, that's a fair trade. And especially with a long-term tenant, they might want, the granite counter. So, hey, if I pay for the materials, will you pay for the labor? So that works. So that's the step number 1, tenant, just ask in writing. And then number 2, when tenants do want to do those things, as long as they're actually improvements, you're going to get a landlord to say yes, and we're just going to go inspect to make sure that, number 1, it's done professionally. I have plenty of stories of the tenant like, oh, I'll do it on my own, and then, well, we can't have that. So it has to be professional or workmanlike manner for us to be able to say, yeah, that's going to stay.
I'm pretty sure the apartment I'm living in, the tenant did the renovations themselves, because on the surface it looks very nice, and then you take a closer look and this one drawer just slides out by itself, and they're kind of crooked.
Some people are do-it-yourselfers, and a lot of times that's great, but other times it's better to work with a professional. And if you know or have worked with a lot of people in the trades, not only do you get a good finished product, but again, you get it at a good price and it lends good value to the property.
And I think that's just a point to people think they can just flip a house. They're just going to buy it low and they're going to do it themselves, and they got it, and you know, they're very organized and they can manage a project. But the reality is you're not getting that pricing that people who do this every day as a living are getting by hiring these contractors, right? So it's different.
Well, and it's not necessarily pricing either. So it might be pricing, but at the same time, it's quality.
Yeah.
Making sure that you have a contractor who really knows what they're doing, that's going to make sure they see the project through from the beginning to the end.
Right.
With integrity.
With integrity.
Yeah.
And somebody's got their stamp on it, too.
Right. Especially, you know, again, as we talked about, you can hire people that may or may not be what they say they are up front, and after you give a little money, you know, you can have that worst case scenario. You can have someone run off. But if you hire someone who's known and trusted, worked with colleagues that have referrals and recommendations of that person, you can at least know at the end of the day you're going to get a quality product, or they're going to see it through to the end.
Sure.
And that doesn't really have anything to do with price.
No.
Like you said, people who, the age-old adage, oh, I want the cheapest bid, you
Get what
don't
you pay
always,
for.
sometimes you do.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for somebody who wants to get into the flipping space?
Ooh, advice. Find someone who really knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, those first-time flippers, it's always a challenge, and we often see people try and dip their toe in and can't quite see it all the way through.
And then they call you, right? Like,
and then
help!
I end up coming and salvaging it, right? Hoping to salvage it. Really finding professionals that can help source the deals and finding great value in homes that might be in original condition, things of that nature, and also seeing through what the real improvements should be.
Right.
Because some people will come in and they might want to put a pool in the backyard.
You gonna get an ROI on it?
Not exactly.
Right.
Probably very little to none.
Right.
But
Pools
there
are
might be
expensive.
they're
Pools are
expensive,
expensive.
and sometimes you might buy a home with a pool in the backyard
Right.
that's in disrepair, and you don't know what to do with it. And so those are the kinds of things of, you know, weighing the options, where the real returns will be. You need professionals around you to be able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what's the process like when somebody reaches out to you? Do you come and assess the home and see if there are certain things that must be upgraded before you put it on the market, or sometimes maybe you say, forget it, we're just going to put it up? How does that work?
Both.
Both?
So the big thing here is it's a consultative approach. We're looking to really figure out what their goals are. What's the end goal? Do they want to keep it long term, or we can talk to someone like Jayson and consult with him on how to fix it up for a tenant.
Right.
Maybe it's something where you know, they want to just get it on the market quickly and they have a time constraint. Really want to figure out what the seller needs. Once we've determined that, then we can go through the options.
Right.
I'll come out and do a consultation. I have a pretty good eye with how many flips I've done. I can typically, within a very small variance, determine how much a flip might cost in improvements.
Okay.
To really underwrite it on the desktop to be able to know which way to go with it.
Yeah.
So once I can see the inside of a home, it goes pretty quickly as to which direction to go.
Well, and the reality is consumers, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so hire a professional who can really guide you and advise you and make sure that you are making the right decisions and has your best interest in mind.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And somebody, I think Brad pointed out a big key. If you can walk into a property and within, you know, a couple minutes be able to say, hey, I think to do this for the bathroom, it's going to cost X, or do this for the kitchen, it's going to cost Y, and be within a reasonable price range of it, that's a huge force multiplier, because go ahead and try to call a bunch of people to come give you bids, and are you comparing apples and apples? And so that's what experience brings you, somebody like Brad, again, doing this many. And for us, when we do our remodels, at the end of the day, a lot of those clients, especially now that the market is hot, they're taking their money off the board and selling. And so it's great when we give a client back to Brad and the remodel work's already done.
Oh,
and
cool,
so then
yeah.
it's a little less work for him, but it's over the long term, it's good for the client.
Jayson, do you ever have clients that have you come through the home and, you know, they're looking for a tenant and you just have to be like, man, we gotta give this baby a facelift?
You know, we have to do that. We have to say that. If I were to go into a property and just tell a client, just to earn their business, oh, don't worry, it's fine, we'll get it rented. We're setting everybody up for failure. And we've talked about this in the past. Fresh paint, some new flooring, and a deep clean will take your property far.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can't take the listing without those items. Yeah. So we've had clients come back to us and say, you know, I didn't want to spend the money, but after putting my home on the market and trying to see what I got on my own, maybe on Craigslist, they'll come back and say, you know what, let's take your lead and let's do that. And it benefits them. Yeah. And I'm sure you come across that quite a bit. People are like, well, I don't want to spend that money, Brad. And then they might come back around and say, well, I need to now.
Right. One thing that I didn't mention before is we look at value.
Right.
And same in your rental comps or what you might be able to rent something for. If there's a big gap in the for sale comps or what has sold, there's a much easier way to say, okay, how much can we spend? And our rule of thumb is really, if you can't make the money back, plus and double it, there's no reason to do the improvements.
Right.
Because the risk is just too great, right? You don't want to spend, you know, a huge amount of money, risk it, and then get nothing in return, or even maybe risk the money that you put out there. You can't do it.
Yeah, just to break even.
Because we're not in the business of spending our clients' money just to spend their money. We see a lot of people who are, I'm an interior decorator, and a lot of them do a great job, but they're in there talking about $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 when that may not bring value. So if it doesn't bring value, there's no reason to do it, just like Brad said. And for us on the rental side, it's a lot harder to see that same value. I'll use the example of putting in brand new floors. That's a great thing that'll get your home to rent, but it may not give you an extra $500 a month in rent. So we definitely have to temper expectations on, okay, what are we doing and how much are we spending? I love those hardwood floors at $10 a foot, but maybe we want to think about the engineered laminate at, you know, $1.99.
Right, like the vinyl planking.
There we go.
But then that also goes back to the quality of tenant that you're going to put in there and attract by doing those small improvements, right?
Right, and let's talk apples to apples, though. I mean, if we're talking about your standard median home here in San Diego, then for us, on the rents being somewhere around $3,000, $10 a foot hardwood, it just doesn't make sense. But if we're talking about Rancho Santa Fe, you know, $15,000 a month, you might want that Viking appliance set and that, you know, those crown molding and all that type of upgrades that we wouldn't add value to our clients.
And I think that goes back to the comps as well, which plays a large role in what are we going to do with this house in the first place.
Absolutely. It really comes down to, you know, where is the value, and you know, different markets things are good for different areas.
Right, right.
And you know, we're seeing that the average flip is much lower in our median price point, and you're not putting in major things. Right. So we've got one right now. Actually, we're working on and having a final call tomorrow where it just needs a couple of bathrooms, and the spread is just big enough to make sense of it. And spending, you know, $20,000, $25,000 on a $500,000 condo makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And so the direction that we'll go with it is to spend their money, not for spending money's sake, as Jayson said, but to get that profit, because I think they'll profit probably $35,000, $40,000 by making that improvement.
Right, makes a lot of sense. So I want to transition to the project management space of your business, because that really stood out to me in that you'll do the project management for your homeowner, and a lot of, I mean, I don't know where else you're going to get that. So kind of walk us through what that process is like.
Well, define project management.
How much are you going to have me actually manage?
You define it.
Right.
Well, so in the project management space, there's lots of varying degrees, and Jayson and I, before we came on, were even talking about this, of, you know, if we're doing carpet and paint, it doesn't really require a general contractor to come in and make sure that those things get done. I don't call myself a project manager for the sense that I'm not a general contractor.
Right.
I'm here to help make suggestions and make sure things happen, right? I want everything going in timely, making sure that from start to finish, we don't have a long project.
Right.
Typically, we're doing full remodels of an entire home, you know, let's say 1,500 to 2,000 square feet in 30 days.
Wow.
Which is fast.
Yeah.
And that's all cosmetic, right? We're not blowing out walls or doing anything crazy. but making sure the process starts quickly and that all the contractors are lined up and timely.
Well, I want to add in, I'm putting myself in a homeowner's shoes, and for me to not have to worry, is the carpet guy coming? Or is, you know, like you can have peace of mind knowing that someone has your back and is taking care of that stuff for you.
But time is money.
Right.
Time is money, and
major benefit.
Just from experience, knowing when the carpet contractor comes, when the paint contractor comes,
in what order,
when to do the counters, when not to, and when you know that, then you can make the exceptions because things always come up. Yep. Nothing survives first, no plan survives first contact. I think that's what it is. Anyway, but time is money, so it's important to have that background experience to make adjustments when they come up.
Many of our clients actually don't even live in town.
Really?
So we'll have people that have inherited a property, that have gone to, you know, they've owned it maybe as a rental or something like that for a number of years, and they live out of state, which is actually a perfect matchup for us. Because they don't have to show up and check on the job. They don't have to come down and you know, check things over.
Right.
Oftentimes they want to be involved, and they do want to come in and take a look.
Right.
But some of them don't even come back to see it. Or
right.
we end up throwing a party for the family to come back and take a look. Which is, you know, I love doing. I love having the control and picking the materials and everything else. It's that's the part that excites me about this business, is getting in and seeing the finished product and making sure it all comes to fruition.
Yeah,
and that's why we offer this, both Brad and I, we offer this to our clients as an added value. It's not something that, okay, you're going to pay me 10% of the job. A lot of times, this is something that I watch HTV. I like doing those new floors. I like seeing the final product. I am a big fan of, okay, let me be the only cook in the kitchen when it comes to the remodel. You can tell me the colors and things like that, but here's our budget, let's do it. But yes, when we work together that way, we can get a pretty quality remodel done in a very efficient amount of time for a decent price. And that's important. It adds value again to our clients. So.
In those instances, are you working directly with the landlord, or do you ever have tenants reach out like, hey, whatever broke, this has to go, we need a new one, or whatever the case may be?
Well, I mean, if it's a repair request, you know, Golden West Management has a maintenance department that handles your basic repair requests. When we talk about a remodel, and I'll give you an example, we have an apartment complex that we're triaging the remodel. So every time a unit becomes vacant, we're putting the same template inside. We're doing the flooring, the paint, you know, the counters, the cabinets, but we have that template ready to go inside. Now, the landlord and I, we have that discussion about what's the budget, what are the colors, what's our goals, and I think, Brad, that term definitely works here for our clients. What are their goals? And then once I have my marching orders, then I work directly with the vendors to get it done.
So the tenants aren't actually in there when you're doing these massive remodels?
I haven't done a remodel with a tenant in there, but
yikes.
if we were going to do that, it would be a hurdle. I don't recommend that. I mean, if you want to get the property ready, when the tenant's lease is up, then they'll move out, and we'll take the 20 to 30 days to do the appropriate turnover, and then we'll put the property up on the market. For those people who say, oh, I want to do all the tenants in there, I'm not the person to.
What if your refrigerator breaks or something, though, in that regard, that is a more immediate need? You're not going to move out for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the landlord-tenant laws here in the state of California are very tenant-friendly. I think the Civil Code is 1150. It definitely defines exactly what it is that the landlord has to pay for and when or when not the tenant gets prorated rent. So, for example, the water heater is broken and now it's been 24 hours and there's still no hot water. Okay, tenant, you'll get prorated rent. We will work as fast as we can to get the water heater replaced and repaired and get your hot water working so that you can enjoy your rental again. And it's very simple, and we've got people with our company been doing this for 10 and 15 years, that this is just another day at the office, and that's what you pay us to handle for you.
Amen. So we are getting some love. Hi to Lale, and Jessica says, as always, great information and good job. Thank you. And thanks to Karen. She said great information as well. We've got 13 live viewers. Anything you want to say to our esteemed fans?
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in.
Amen. Awesome. Thanks, guys. So I do want to talk about accidental landlords. You did kind of bring that up. Somebody inherits a property, and now what do we do? And I would imagine that's probably when the two of you work together most. Maybe take it away, whoever wants to unpack that one.
Brad, please.
Well, I can't take credit for the term, and I wouldn't be able to quote it, but accidental landlord, we find a lot of people rent their trailing property So when they go to buy a property for themselves, they'll move into it, they'll live in it for 3, 4, 5 years, and then decide, okay, I'm going to move up to the next one. They rent their trailing property, but they rent it without really looking at, is this a great investment? It breaks even, maybe it loses a little bit, especially in San Diego, and they're not thinking about buying an investment or keeping an investment. So what we found is they hold on to them for a few years with the thought that this is a great idea, now I've got a rental property, and they end up coming back to us and saying, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't want to manage it anymore. I mean, it's a good investment, but the reality is this isn't, I'm not in the right business for this. I don't have time for it.
I have a day job already.
Not my forte.
In which case, Jayson, you know, is a perfect fit for them to go over and actually have somebody professionally manage it.
And another example of the accidental landlord is somebody that inherited the home usually. And a lot of times these investment properties they inherit, they might have a tenant already. So they'll come to us and ask us, hey, you know, I'm out of state or I'm out of the area or I just have a day job and I don't have time to manage this. So we'll go ahead and take over the management. And then it does take a while, either probate or trust to work out. They'll come to us after a year or so and say, okay, now we're ready to move forward. We want to put the property on the market, and that makes it the perfect time frame for us to turn it over to Brad to get that home ready to get sold.
I didn't even think about the fact that somebody could already be living in there, and then God forbid they don't have a trust and will set up, and it has to go through probate. I mean, holy moly.
And not only just that, they might not have a lease. It was an oral agreement from 10 years ago, and who knows what the security deposit was at one time, or so we've stepped in quite a few of those instances, but that's what we do. That's what we're an expert at, and so we're able to work through those circumstances to within 30 days get things on the straight and narrow, and then when it comes time, again, I using the investment takeover as an example, the family gets together usually, and then they say, okay, now we're ready to take the money off the board. And then it's easy to go to Brad and say, oh, hey, the tenant's moving out, you know, let's get you in and to do your estimates and then get ready to put it on the market.
And I'll add a little something to that. I think what's interesting too is the heirs of a specific property aren't necessarily well-versed property owners. I'm not saying it's not always the case, but oftentimes they weren't the original property owner. They don't really know how to run a property. And so they kind of try and figure it out as they go, and that's where the accidental part comes in. So it's a great thing to at least get a consult with the two of us, take a look at it and see what the best option is for the family and whoever's taking over the property.
Better to contact you on the front end than in the SOS moments. Like, please rescue us. We are in a sticky situation.
Right, and what works great for both Brad and I is that we're on the same spectrum in terms of you're going to sell the home eventually, and in the meantime, if you want it rented and not sitting vacant, you're going to want to work with somebody like me from Golden West. So we're able to partner together and find what is the right time and the right value proposition for those clients. Is it renting for another year? Is it, hey, the market's hot, you know, this meets your goal criteria, you know, Brad needs to step in and get you the top dollar.
That was something you brought up when we chatted earlier in the week also, is that people are like, all right, I'm going to buy the house, I'm going to live in it for a year or two, and then I'm out. How can you find yourself in a weird scenario? Why is that maybe not the best way to go?
Well, we talked a little bit about speculation, right? And
the crystal ball, right?
And that crystal ball. You know, and what the market's doing, et cetera. And there was so much speculation back in the 2004 to 2007 range of people thinking, oh, I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to make a whole bunch of money in the next 12 months.
The market's going to go on forever, right?
Yeah, and that actually gives me chills thinking about it. But what
he's actually freezing in here. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah.
The big thing when we sit down with a client is if those words come out of their mouth that they're looking at short-term speculation, not necessarily property flipping, but hey, I'm going to buy this and next year maybe I'll live in it for a year and then I'll sell it next year. I'll move up to my next one. We always want to make sure that their end game has an out.
Yeah.
Because if it's 12, 24, 36, and I'm not even saying that that's when the market is going to shift or correct, but if it's that time frame, they have to have an out. What does it look like if you have to hold it for 5 years or 10? Or what's the ultimate goal for you in purchasing the property? We don't want to bring somebody under our wing, help them out in finding something that's the right fit for them unless they have the right motivation to buy it. Because I don't want to set someone up with a purchase and then they end up underwater because they couldn't carry it or they're not happy with what they actually bought.
Right.
We're in the business of bringing back clients, repeat clients, and making sure that they trust what our services are. And if they don't have that, then if they don't have that mindset, then it's not a good fit for us.
And at the end of the day, that aligns, like you said, with their goals and their investment. Like, what is the goal here? So we have a good question that came from Christy. She said, is it part of your service to educate accidental landlords with rental investments?
Well, absolutely. So when it comes to the property itself, in terms of comps and what we can get in rentals and what the what the potential is, that's what we're here for. We're your local neighborhood expert. But when it comes to, hey, I want to look at for other investments, that's when we have that wonderful partnership with people like Brad and his team, because they're in there pounding the door for that great value. Not only is that great purchase value for an investment on the MLS right now, it's usually somebody that Brad probably worked with or somebody that one of his team knows that has that property that they might want to sell, and that might be a better investment for somebody coming in to buy.
And I think educating in any space, right? Whether it's real estate sales, whether it's rentals, if you become an accidental landlord and you need advice, it's good to get someone like us to come in and actually just look at the whole portfolio or single property and figure out for you and your goals and assess that. What's the best route for it?
Yeah.
Where do we take it?
Right.
And if it ends up being 3 years with Jayson and then you decide to sell at the end of it or whatever have you, I think it's a good thing to get educated on those things.
And I think to drive home that point that Brad brings up, it's very individual goal driven. What is it that is best for you and your family, you and your portfolio? That's what's going to help drive that answer at the end of the day.
A little different for everyone.
Right.
Awesome. Well, lots of good information. I want to make sure that everyone watching knows how to get a hold of you. So, Brad, you are with the Seaman Team. We can go to seamanteam.com.
You got it.
Pretty straightforward.
Seaman like a sailor, S-E-A-M-A-N.
Yeah, you heard that here. Just had to specify. So, the seamanteam.com. And then Jayson Yoss with Golden West Management, goldenwestmanagement.com. Brad, I want to come back to you as we wrap up here. What do you want people to remember from the information we shared? What's your golden nugget takeaway for today?
The big takeaway is just make sure that you have an understanding of what your goals are, right? The underlying foundation of all of this is if you want to be in the real estate game, whether it's long-term holds, flipping properties, understand what the base layer is.
Yeah.
Do you want to own long-term and 1031 exchange into bigger properties? What ultimately do you want to do with your real estate, whether you're getting in for the first time or you're a seasoned investor? So make sure you understand what your goals are, and if you haven't figured those out yet, sit down with me, and I'm happy to go through it and help guide you.
Awesome. One more time, Brad Seaman at the seamanteam.com. Seaman like the sailor, guys. Don't be a sicko. And Jayson Yoss, Golden West Management. What's your takeaway? What's your golden nugget?
I think as Brad talked about goals, we are the vehicle to get you to those goals. Let us look at what it is you want to accomplish. And then through our experience with our dedicated teams, we're going to be able to help get you there.
Amen, brother. GoldenWestManagement.com. Thank you so much for both being here and sharing your amazing knowledge. Always a blast. Thank you so much to our listeners for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. This is Real Talk San Diego coming to you live from Smarter San Diego Studios, bringing you the business of life in America's finest city. I'm Claire McKee. Go love everyone, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.